Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sistren. I am your man and president, Washington football team fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report Training Camp Confidential. It's August 9th. We are 3 days away from Washington's first preseason game against the New England Patriots. So the countdown officially begins. And I'm excited. I've been talking to a lot of you out there, and you're just as excited, if not more so excited, than I am. Looking forward to that big time. So let's talk about practice today, talk about what Ron had to say at the podium. Several players spoke, including Chase Roullier and Tim Settle. So I'll give you some tidbits from what they had to say. Not much, really, by the way, of press conferences today. However, a couple of notes from practice. So let's start with the house cleaning, as we always do with these training camp confidential videos. No Kyle Allen today once again, as he continues to nurse the ankle injury that he had surgery on last year. Tweaked it earlier in camp, has not been back at practice since. And Ron stated at his presser today that he is getting anxious, wanting to get Kyle Allen back on the field. And it became a little bit scary today and a more apparent, probably to Ron, which is what probably prompted him to make the comment that he's getting anxious, is because Taylor Heinicke, for a brief second, was not 100% at camp today. We'll talk about that in a second. And obviously, if there's no Heinicke, you're screwed, because Steven Montez stinks. And I've told you guys this when we got him as an undrafted rookie last year. I said, this guy stinks, guys. He looks the part, okay? Big, athletic, big arm. He's got all the tools. He's toolsy, but he stinks. And I said, you're not going to want to see this guy get on the field. And I was so glad when Heinicke came back in that Tampa Bay game. I wanted no parts of Montez in that football game. And Steven Montez wanted no parts of being in that football game. So Ron does not want to see 12 have to enter the game. And thus, I think that's part of his anxiousness for wanting to get Kyle Allen back on the field, is to make sure that at least two competent quarterbacks are available at all times. You don't want to have to go down that Steven Montez road. It is not a pretty one. So, no Kyle Allen at practice today, but I do think his return is getting imminent, but it's not here yet. Did not practice today. Matt Ioannidis continues to work off on the side field, not participating in 11-on-11 drills, not participating in a lot of the team stuff. So he's still continuing to work on conditioning to get himself back into the swing of things after being on the COVID-19 list. They aren't rushing him back. Remember, he missed a ton of time last year with that injury. So I don't think they want to rush him back. They want to take their time with him, make sure that he's comfortable when he does finally hit the field once again. And finally, William Jackson III was a participant in individual drills and positional drills, but no teamwork for him today, still nursing the ill effects of the Charlie horse he sustained yesterday. So no William Jackson III. As a matter of fact, he sustained that Charlie horse, I want to say it was Friday. He tweaked something Friday because he did not practice Friday on the Friday night practice at FedEx Field. So he's been nursing that for a while. Again, there's no reason to rush anybody at this juncture of camp. You're playing in a preseason game. It's meaningless. You want to see these guys go out there and perform and compete and start to build that continuity that we always talk about. But it's week one of the preseason. Like, no one's hurting for guys to be out there right now. You want these guys available when it counts against the Los Angeles Chargers on September the 12th. So not really worried about August the 12th, more so September the 12th. And I think that's what Ron has in mind as well. So let's talk about some secondary members. Because of William Jackson III's absence of practice today in team drills, that meant somebody had to step in his place. That guy was Juice. But we've talked about Kendall Fuller sliding inside to nickel when Juice comes in and that gives them William Jackson III and Juice on the outside with some length, and that allows Fuller to go inside and play the nickel. Well, Washington did a lot of that today with Kendall Fuller sliding inside, but with no William Jackson III on the opposite side. Who was opposite of Juice? Good question. That guy was Jimmy Moreland, okay? So that kind of gives you a little bit of idea as to where Jimmy Moreland is in all of this. And what have I been telling you for years? I've been telling you this for 2 years running now. Ever since he stepped foot in this league and they tried to slide him inside, I said Jimmy is a boundary corner. I'm not as comfortable with Jimmy inside as I am with Jimmy outside. Now, Jimmy is going to have to play some inside, but I think Jimmy is more of a boundary corner. And he's getting reps there. Again, he got some reps there last year. Remember, he stepped in that Philadelphia game, made a pick as a boundary corner in week 1. So we know he is capable outside. We'll see if the opportunities present themselves, but Jimmy getting work outside is another indication to me that he has a leg up on any competition that he may be in, whether perceived or not, in a roster battle towards the back end of that cornerback position. To me, that's just another sign that Jimmy has a leg up. I think he's going to make the football team personally, but still, there are competitions out there, and I think he may be in one of them at the cornerback position. I think Jimmy is going to make this football team. And to me, his positional flex gives him that ability to do so now, as you see him being able to play on the outside and inside. Juice had a strong day at practice again, so he's continuing to build confidence-wise. Yeah, he's going to get beat. Just like De'Ami Brown's going to have some hiccups and some drops and things of that nature. But you're going to get more good plays out of De'Ami. I'm hoping the same can be said for Juice. Seems like he's building a ton of confidence in camp. That's what we like to hear. Now it's one thing to hear it, another thing to see it. I'll be looking at him, paying close attention to him in the preseason, starting with this game against the Patriots. Speaking of corners, Danny Johnson continues to stand out at camp. This is another guy that is a bubble player that we think is competing for one of those cornerback spots. I think there are 3 corners competing for 2 spots at the back end of the cornerback position. We already know that 3 guys are locks to make the football team as corners. We've been through this exercise already, but quickly, Kendall Fuller, William Jackson III, Benjamin St. Juice. Those 3 are locks to make this football team. I think there are 3 guys competing for 2 spots at the cornerback position to round out that group and give you 5 corners. Those 3 guys, Danny Johnson, Jimmy Moreland, and my guy from the Detroit Lions a season ago, Darryl Roberts. I had to check my notes from yesterday. Darryl Roberts. Those are your 3 guys, I think, that are competing for 2 spots. So Danny Johnson continuing to give himself every opportunity to make this football team. One, I think he has a leg up on Darryl Roberts from a familiarity standpoint. He was here last year. He gives them special teams value. I can't state that enough. I think that's part of the reason I have Danny Johnson making this football team, is because he gives them special teams value, not only as a core special teamer that plays all 4 specials, but he also doubles as a kickoff return man. And I think he can also help as a punt returner, but I think they're more comfortable with him on kickoff returns than they are on punt returns. Either way, he gives them more value and depth at those other positions as well. So Danny Johnson, 3rd interception in 4 days for Danny Johnson as he continues to stockpile the interceptions. Danny Johnson making plays, had another one today. I think he's making his case clear that he deserves to be on this roster. Now he's going to have to transfer that over into the games, but I like me some Danny Johnson. He's continuing to perform at a high level. I referenced this earlier. Let's kind of expound upon it. Taylor Heineke had his foot stepped on today in practice, was hobbled for 2 possessions straight before he was able to shake it off and kind of get back to business. Now, he never missed a snap. Let me be clear about that. He was hobbled and noticeably walking with a limp while shaking his leg, trying to shake off the injury, but he never came out of the game. Never stopped competing, never took a play off, never came out of the huddle. Ron even said after practice, I didn't even notice it because, he never stopped playing. So Ron either wasn't paying close enough attention, or he just said, look, that wasn't serious enough. And Ron said, I didn't think it was a serious enough bump for him to be injured. So that's Ron pretty much saying, man up. So Heineke would be in his best interest to be able to fight through something like that, because we know what one of his tasks for the offseason was, which was get a little bit more physical, okay, put on a little bit more weight, and be able to withstand the rigors of the NFL and the quarterback position. You can't get hurt every time you're put into a game situation. So him getting hurt in practice, he's got to be able to shake it off, and he did, to his credit. But it kind of speaks to the fragility of Taylor Heineke. That's something we've always talked about with him. Can you trust this guy to play and stay healthy if, put in the game and thrown into the fire? That's something that I still worry about with him. Until he shows us otherwise, that's going to continue to be one of the narratives surrounding Taylor Heineke. But good to know that he was able to come out of practice okay, and no worse for the wear, but did have a bit of a scare having his foot stepped on and limped around for a couple of possessions. Shook it off, continued to practice. More intensity at practice today from the fellas, more so the coaching staff, which then injected life into the fellas on the field. So Ron said they came out a little bit lethargic, and that prompted the coach to light a fire. The coaches, not just Ron, but a lot of the positional coaches, to light a fire under their asses. There's a game this week, in case they forgot. And Ron says, we're not going to be embarrassed. That's one thing we will not be, is embarrassed. We will be prepared, despite it being a preseason game. And so they then took the initiative of getting on these players and making sure that they understand that there's a game this week against a different opponent than yourselves. Get ready. And after that, the guys responded, and practice was lively, and they were flying around. So sounds like practice is picking up intensity-wise, not just the players, but the coaches. And hopefully that transfers over to New England on Thursday night. Running back Peyton Barber, haven't spoken much about him this camp. Haven't heard much, really. But the only thing we've heard going into camp was that he was in much better shape. I'm hearing that again now, as someone said that Peyton Barber is looking really spry out there, continuing to make his case to be that third back once again. He looks faster, quicker, more elusive as a receiver, looks a little bit more elusive as a runner. And I think a lot of you have been clamoring for Jaret Patterson because you feel like Peyton Barber is a one-trick pony. He can only offer you something in short yardage situations. Well, Barber has vowed to be more than just a short yardage back this year, and it's obvious with the over 10 pounds of weight loss that he's come in lighter, looking to be faster and quicker, which he has accomplished that goal. And he looks like a guy that, and I told you, Ron said this, I want to say it was one of the first training camp practices. Ron said, Peyton Barber looks good. Peyton Barber's in great shape. I don't think that the weight loss is going to affect him in short yardage situations. This guy runs tough. He runs hard, but he's now quicker to go along with that toughness and that physicality. So Peyton Barber, guys, I've told you how I feel about Barber. Apparently the staff feels the same way. I just continue to tell you, I think the same three backs that were on the team last year are going to be the same three backs on the team this year, despite a lot of the fans wanting to see Jaret Patterson. And you'll get a chance to see him in the preseason, plenty of him. And we'll be able to see what he really brings to the table then, and if that's something that we need to kind of take a look at. I remember, Lace Seastrunk, once upon a time, looking so good. The first preseason game he played in, he ripped off like an 80-yard run for a touchdown. We were going all goo-goo gaga over him. The guy didn't play a single down in the NFL, I don't think, here or anywhere else for that matter. Like, let's not go overboard with some of these guys, okay? It's one thing to be excited about some of these players, and when you want them to have an opportunity, but if guys in front of them are just flat out better at this time, I'm not saying that 3 years from now that Jaret Patterson won't be a better running back than Peyton Barber ever was in his career, But as of right now, that's not the case. It's not the case. I just don't think he's a better running back for this team right now as it's constructed. So we'll see what happens. But I think Peyton Barber is going to make this football team. And so I want to leave you with this last tidbit from practice today. And it wasn't actually something that happened in practice, but something that has been happening for the last couple of days. No Shaka Toney at practice today. And that coincides with yesterday where there was no Shaka Toney at practice. He hasn't practiced the last few days. I don't think I've seen him out on the field or heard about him being out on the field since Friday's practice. So I don't know if something happened on Friday night with Shaka Toney, but it's not looking good for him to make the team. I'm really disappointed because I really had high hopes for him as a 7th-round pick. He was going to be my Cam Curl for this season, the guy that you draft in the 7th round, not thinking much of a 7th-round pick, and he comes out of nowhere and makes an impact. I might have had the wrong guy. That guy might actually be William Bradley King. Who knows? But he's been getting a lot of talk of late, and he seems to be flying around. Ron was very excited when they drafted him. I talked about him being a guy that I saw flashes from, but never the consistency to get me excited. We're going to see. This is a guy that they seem to be really excited about. We're going to see what he does on Thursday, and then the following Friday, and then the following Saturday to see if he can upstage Casey Toohill and find his way onto this roster, because I only think they're keeping 4 defensive ends on the final 53-man roster. So that's going to do it for Training Camp Confidential, August 9th edition. Countdown to New England begins. Last practice of the week is tomorrow, before the game, I should say. No practice Wednesday as they'll be traveling, and then you get the game on Thursday. Obviously, they're not going to practice the day after a game. They may get 2 days off and then hit it again on Sunday. We'll see, but looking forward to this New England game. But one more practice still that we have to get in the books before we get to that point. But I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Stay tuned. We're going to have another video outlining the release of the very first depth chart. I've been waiting for this day since the season ended, even though I know it's not a big deal and you don't want to run away and hide with the results of this first depth chart. We're going to talk about this thing at great lengths. And in addition to that, on that same video, you will find out how you can get your hands on a pair of Washington football team preseason tickets. I've got 2 of them for the upcoming game. I'll tell you how you can get your hands on them. So make sure you check out that video as well. Until then, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. We'll see you guys on the next installment of Training Camp Confidential. You guys have a good one. Take care. See you next time.
LouieTeeNetwork.